glad that we have that as part of our ceremony. Good job as always, Ryan. All right, continuing on with our induction ceremony. If you follow along here in your program, you see who's coming up next. And I certainly remember watching this guy on the basketball court and also watching the man and getting to be a colleague later with a gentleman who was his fine coach and coached many of the great teams at Bedford. Smoke Andrews and Bob, or Smoke as we call him, why don't you come on up? Smoke Andrews will be presenting our award to Dan Coe. Smoke.
Good evening. I consider it quite a privilege and an honor to be able to talk to you about Dan Coe. This all started about 60 years ago when I came to Bedford as a basketball coach, hoping to improve on what was a terrible situation. And to help me, the then principal, Arthur V. Townsend, scheduled the remaining boys from last year's team to one period a week that I could get acquainted with them. And that acquaintance was very discouraging, to say the least. In fact, I went home and cried a little bit because the situation was so bad. But then there's always hope, because along came a clean-cut, good-sized boy, good student, who wanted to be a basketball player. That's this fellow right here. Dan never played organized basketball before, but as a ninth grader, he participated as a regular on our junior varsity team. And as Dan became, each week, each game, Dan got better and better and better, as our varsity team kept losing. They one day did win 2 games, but that was norm for Bedford at that time. Then, in Dan's sophomore year, he moved up to the varsity, and what a tremendous help. Bedford won 12 games. They hadn't won that in a long time. And Dan rebounded well. Dan actually controlled the board, blocked shots, and as a sophomore, he averaged just about 13 points a game. Now we're ready to move. Dan's ready to move. He's ready to move into his junior year. And everything was going great. They were undefeated. 3 or 4 games. Then Dan was injured. He fractured a bone in his foot and missed about 3 to 5 weeks, so 3 to 4 weeks of the season. Needless to say, we won 1 game during Dan's absence. Then when Dan returned, he still managed to lead us to a winning season. Not as good as the year before, but we won more than we lost. And Dan's average included up to 17 points a game. And he was selected as the first team on the all-county team. Now we go to the senior year. And despite that Dan had 2 sophomore teammates on the first 5 with him, Dan led us to the county championship, to the District 5 championship, improved his scoring average to about 24 points a game. He blocked shots here and there. He controlled the boards. And it was a great season. At one time, in 1 game, Dan scored 36 points in 1 game that year. And that, I believe, was a record at that time. One night he pulled down 25 rebounds. And that's rebounding. And as a result of all of this, Dan repeated his selection to the all-county team. He was selected by the Johnstown Tribune, the first team, all-senior team, and he made the second team, all-district team, selected by the Johnstown Tribune Democrat. And all of that hard work that Dan did and his achievements earned him a 4-year scholarship to the College of Steubenville, which at that time was a big, or rather small college town. And Dan ended up playing with Jimmy Smith, who was a little All-American. And in Dan's freshman year, he received the award for being the most improved player on that team. And he played 4 years of varsity ball at Steubenville, culminating in an invitation to the NAI playoffs, which was a great achievement. And Dan then came back into the Army, and he led his division team, or one or the other. He led to the championship, and the other, they came in second. And he participated in local activities and so. But I've said enough about Dan. You know he's pretty good.
Thank you very much, Coach, for all those kind words. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors for their vote to induct me into the Sports Hall of Fame. It's truly a great and humbling honor and experience to receive such an award. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to Coach Andrews for all his help in getting me on the right path those early years, and for his kind remarks. Thank you very much. Clear up any confusion or misconceptions, Danny Kerr and Dan Kerr are one of the same persons. I thought my sister Dottie was the only one who called me Danny, but I think the old timers in the area and in my younger days, that was the name I went by. And also I'd like to say, according to today's edition of the Bedford Gazette, I'm wondering if I should be up here and have to make any remarks, because I thought it might be a last-minute scratch. I'll let you look in the Gazette to see what that's all about. I'm just giving Bill a hard time there. One of the things I like to do is read a saying that I've had when I was in the Army. When I was discharged, they made this plaque up, and everybody in the unit I was in signed it. And it's been hanging on, a wall in our house for about the last 50 years. And I'm not sure. Some of you might be familiar with it and have heard it before. Some places I've seen it says author unknown. I showed it to my son-in-law Brad, and he's a man with the computer and everything, and he looked it up and he said that it was attributed to Teddy Roosevelt. And I think some of this is applicable to today's society, today's sporting events and everything. It is not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or where the doer could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, the man whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood. It belongs to the man who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, who knows the great enthusiasm that devoting and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at least knows in the end the triumphs of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while doing so greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. And I can say that's been something that I think that, you know, when you first look at that, it's something maybe that you could apply to sports, you know, and you know, the arena could be the basketball court, the football field, baseball field, wrestling match, tennis court, soccer field, and the racetrack. But I also feel that, you know, everyone in life, in general, you know, this can apply to them, because whatever you do, you're in the arena. And I think that, you know, if you're attorneys, pharmacists, the business world, church, gas station attendants, the community, etc., that, you know, you're in the business world and you're trying to, you know, do the best that you can. And I think the main thing on that is that, you know, you try to do the best that you can and take advantage of the opportunities that are presented and available to you. And, you know, I'd like to just sort of, again, comment all these young people here on the awards that they have received. And I think this is where this is important, that young people should take advantage of their athletic ability, you know, their scholarships, and you know, be in the arena. And whatever you do, try to do your best. Enjoy the sports that you participate in, and get a good education. You know, there will be victories and some defeats, but even then, if you did your best, you still know the victory. Not many of you or us will get the $1 million contracts, but you can get a good education and become a good sons, daughters, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and successful members of your community. And, you know, I think this is one of the important things that we need to do nowadays. Another one of the things that I enjoy is the Bedford Gazette. Twice a year, I think it's twice a year, they have pretty much, I think, a full-page column or full-page article on the alumni, people that, you know, have graduated from high school and gone on to college. And, you know, they list their college, their sport, and how they are doing. And, you know, if you look at this, it's an awesome list of young men and women in the Bedford Gazette coverage. I think, you know, these young people deserve a lot of credit. Sports has helped to shape my life and the future of our family. I think myself, through the years, I've had some guidance, and I always think maybe that there was a higher power out there somewhere helping me make decisions. You know, I could have gone to another college. I had a couple of other offers. I think Coach Andrews, we sat down and he helped guide me to the College of Steubenville. Once I got there was two Lutheran churches in Steubenville, St. John's and Grace. And, you know, I guess again, someone was guiding me. I went to St. John's. And, you know, there I met a beautiful young nursing student. You know, after getting to talk to her and know her for a little while, she invited me home to dinner one Sunday after church. She said, the next Sunday. And I thought, gee whiz, I'm in the arena already. I was going to go home the next Sunday, or the next weekend, I guess, actually. And so, you know, I thought, well, you know, I don't know. So I said, well, you know, how about if I take a rain check on that? So, you know, she agreed to do that. And I've often thought, I don't know why she picked me out, but so I think when she saw that here was a big, dumb country boy, you know, coming to the big city. And someone had to take care of him and you know, see that he was doing the right things. And then they took a look at me and thought, you need to feed this kid. Give him some meat on his body. He didn't weigh too much at that time. And you know, that was a victory for me. I knew that, you know, she said, okay, you can come the next weekend and have a a rain check on it. That was one of the victories. That in essence started our relationship. Resulted in 51 years of marriage, 2 wonderful children, Mark and Lynn, sitting down there, 2 awesome grandsons, Matt and Nick, and our son-in-law, Brad. I went to, the College of Steubenville is a Catholic college. It's now noted as the Franciscan University of Steubenville. And it's one of the best Catholic colleges in the country. And we stayed at it was an old converted mansion, had 3 floors. It's called the Alpha House, and most everybody there was Catholic. And my Catholic friends late on Saturday afternoon or early Saturday evening, they would go to church, go to Mass, and they could stay up and have a good time all night. And I had to go home and get up and go to church the next morning. So they always gave me a hard time because they couldn't understand how that I would leave early in the morning for church and not come back till late afternoon or early evening. Except during basketball season, had to come back early because we practiced on Sunday night. And they used to ask me, "What's going on down there at that church? What are you doing? Is it some kind of a cult or something going on down there? It must be really sinful that it takes that long, for you to be saved." And I always told them, I said, "Well, you're welcome to come along," but they never did. I think it was a draw. I never converted any of them, and they never converted me. Again, I say I'm honored to see this award. I'm a member of the Bedford Lions Club, and I was fortunate enough there to receive a Melvin Jones Fellow. And I sort of look at these 2 things as bookends as far as my life, my family's life is concerned. That this Hall of Fame Sports Award was because of sports. The Lions Melvin Jones Fellow was because of community service. And there's a lot of times that I spend between those 2 that I spend in there. Some victories and some defeats. To thank Coach Andrews again, his wife Ann, for all their help and encouragement, getting me started in the early years. Thanks to my family, friends, my sister Dottie Rice, my brother Bob, and the other friends. I realize that I may have missed people, but they know who they are, and they have my deepest thanks and appreciation. You have to excuse me, my eyes aren't as good as they were. Again, my thanks to the board of directors for this great honor. And to quote my good friend Bill, God bless. Thank you very much. I'm in the midst of
getting new glasses. Oh. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Smart. Our next inductee is he's a young man. It's a period of time when I was coaching, and guys like Tom Rogish, characters like that. We're talking about Dick Mock, another one of those fierce competitors from up on the ridge. And introducing him is going to be my good friend Dick Fisher. Dick Mock will be our next inductee.
Good evening. Before I introduce Dick tonight, I'd like to introduce someone else with us tonight. He's Dick's football boss right now, and I'd really like to welcome him to our Bedford County tonight. He's a graduate of First Street High School and Indiana University of Pennsylvania. He was drafted by the Chicago Bears in 1995 and went on to play 12 years in the NFL. 9 years with the Chicago Bears and 3 years with the Buffalo Bills. During his career, he was a two-time All-Pro, played in 4 All-Star Pro football games, and for you football fans, he was a member of the John Madden All-Madden team, so you know he's tough. I'd like to introduce you to the head coach of St. Francis University and 12-year NFL veteran, Chris Lariel. Chris?
Hi everyone, how are you doing today? It's a great honor to be here today. Before I start, obviously I'd like to thank the Country Kettle for the great food. As you guys can all tell, I don't miss too many meals, so I'd like to thank them for the great meal today. The guy that's about to be inducted here in a couple minutes is a friend of mine. I met this man about 18 years ago. I had the opportunity to hire him 3 years ago on my staff. But before we get to all the records and things of that sort, I just want to tell you guys a little story about Richard here, what happened to us here in about March. We practice at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we practice from 6 to 7:30 in the morning. Well, long story short, we go out to practice and Richard's standing down in the end zone by himself. So I walked over to some of the staff members and I said, "Is he okay?" Now you got to realize it was probably 20 degrees out. You guys know it was snowing and everything else. And he's down there just all by himself, all hunched over. And I walked over to the next staff member and I said, "Is he all right?" So I walked over to Richard and I said, "What's wrong?" He wouldn't even look at me. So I just, nonchalantly walked away, talked to a couple of players. All of a sudden I hear some guys chuckling. "What's going on?" I said, "What's going on with him?" And he just sat there. So I walked over and I said, "Richard, what's wrong?" And he just everyone has kids, he had that little kid eyes, he just looks down at his feet and then looks back up at me. So I looked down and here Richard had one cleat on and one dress shoe on. True story, I'm not making these things up. I said, "Richard, what happened?" He said, "Well, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't see what I was doing. I was ready to get out the door." So, but this is a great man. I'm proud to have the opportunity to speak a little bit about this man. Obviously, he's helped me out a lot in my young life. He's directed me. He's helped me out. He's consoled me, given me great advice. The man is loyal. He's honest. He's a great man of integrity, a great man of faith, and he's helped open my faith a lot too. I'm proud to be his friend. I'm going to keep this real short because I know some of us are getting a little antsy, but I'm proud to be this man's friend. The Bedford Sports Hall of Fame should be very proud of this member, and I thank you for your time, but Richard Mock, you're much deserving of this, and thank you, and Coach Fisher, thank you very much for giving me time to speak.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to have you with us. It is my extreme pleasure tonight to introduce Dick Mock as a new member of the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame. I was proud to be Dick's head baseball coach at Chestnut Ridge from his freshman year, 1964, to he graduated in 1968. And as you know, Dick was an outstanding football player. He led his junior and senior year, he led our team to a 17-2 record in 1966 and 1967. And he was a leader in that team. Dick was an offensive guard, defensive guard, and defensive linebacker. And he was truly a team leader. This was a great football team. And he's the best lineman I ever coached in my 9 years of head football coaching at Chestnut Ridge. He had tremendous desire, very aggressive on the field. He was truly a team leader. He led the team as captain, was defensive signal caller. You can read all about his individual stats in your program. He won many honors during his junior and senior years at Chestnut Ridge. And he graduated in 1968 with 12 varsity letters, 3 letters each in 4 sports: football, wrestling, baseball, and track. Senior year in wrestling, he competed on a 12-1 wrestling team, and our only loss was to Bedford. And as Dick said last year, Dick had the unfortunate night to wrestle Sam Diggle, who's in the Hall of Fame for his wrestling abilities. That was also the night that Stan Mock wrestled after one night practice. Stan was our basketball star, and Stan volunteered to wrestle Bedford, Milky Allen, and Stan went and practiced for one evening and went out the next night and wrestled. Didn't win, but we lost about 26-20. That was our only loss of that season. And of course, as Bill knows, Bedford went on to become District 5 champion that year, as they have for many years. But Dick was also an outstanding wrestler too. After high school, Dick went on to Shippensburg State College. He lettered as a freshman, and then lettered on the varsity team for the next 3 years, starting his junior and senior years. He graduated with a degree in education in 1972, and had some outstanding accomplishments during his years at Shippensburg. And since then, if you look at your program, you see that for the last 40 years, Dick has been a football coach. He has coached at the high school level, the academy level, the college level, and professional level. He coached arena football in Johnstown. Is now presently assistant coach with Coach Chris at St. Francis University. Dick and I remained very close over the last 43 years, and he's truly an outstanding choice for the Hall of Fame. And I'm glad to welcome him and to join with me in the Hall of Fame and with 2 of his teammates. Stan Mock and Roger Lamans are also 2 teammates from that 1966 and 67 teams. So we now have 3 football players in that team, plus myself in the Hall of Fame, so it's quite an honor for me. So it's a great honor for me to welcome Dick Mock into the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame.
Because of these tall guys over here, I have to get this thing down here so I can talk. I had to turn around and look behind me to see who they were talking about because I wasn't quite sure. But I just want to let you know that I got special permission tonight to talk 45 minutes. That's okay to talk. No, we're not going to do that. First of all, I'd like to thank Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame for inviting me here and being so gracious to induct me into the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame. It's a great honor and a privilege to do this. I'd also like to just say a few words about some people that have been very influential in me in my coaching life and my personal life. And I'm going to be very brief with each one, but I might throw 1 or 2 anecdotes in there just to liven it up a little bit. First of all, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me the opportunity to be here and the health to be able to participate in such a great event like this. I'm sorry, there are 2 people here tonight that aren't here that I wish were here. One's my dad, and anybody knows Paul Mock, he was ex-Marine. So he was very influential in my life and was very, very, I like to tell people that I didn't have to have John Wayne as a hero, that John Wayne lived in my house. And he was an awesome individual, a great father, and a great guy to look up to. My mother, who's 89, and I promise I was just going to laugh now, but my mom's 89 years old. She's currently residing down in Penn Knoll. And my sister Kay was over there today to talk to her, and she said, I know Dick's going to talk an awful lot because he never stops talking. So that's my mom. She's not here. Geraldine's not here with us right now, but I know she's here in spirit. A couple people I'd like to mention, but I do want to say one thing about, I want to tell another anecdote about myself. We're talking about intensity, and one thing that, I've always been a very intense individual. Overachiever, Wasn't a great athlete by any stretch of the means, but I tried awful hard, and I tried to get by with a lot of desire and effort. And we talk about intensity in the coaching profession. And I know I was coaching Richland High School. This is 2007. And we were getting to play our big rival, Bishop McCourt, who we had not beaten for 58 years. 58 years, Bishop McCourt pounded Richland High School. And prior to us getting there, prior to us getting to that point, we were 4-0 at the time. Bishop McCourt was 4-0 at the time. Richland High School had not had a winning team for over 25 years. And this was our first winning season that we were going to have. And here we are playing our big rival. So, of course, after church one Sunday, I go over, and it's about noon time, and I'm going over to one of our assistant coaches, and I get out of the car, and I'm ready to go break film down. So I walk in the house, go over to the customary place, go over to the refrigerator, get in the refrigerator, get a bottle of water, and I'm starting to drink it. I turn around and go to walk out. I look in the dining room, and there's a family in there having dinner. It's not my buddy and his family. I walked in the wrong house. So the kid was one of my players I coached at Richland some years ago, J.D. Rubel. And I go, "Hey, J.D., how you doing?" He goes, "Good, Coach Bach, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'll see you later." So I walked out, went next door. And by the way, we beat Bishop McCourt 30-27, which was the first time in 58 years. And to Coach Valerio, that was not a spike and a loafer. That was two different colored shoes. I just want to let you know that. And it was dark. It was dark. Okay. People beside my dad that have been very influential in my life, like Dick Fisher, my head coach, lifelong friend. Sometimes as a player you just connect with coaches, and coaches connect with you. And Coach Fisher was one of the guys I connected with at a very early age. I always looked up to him. He was a great man to me. Plus I loved his 66 GTO that he had, which was one of the prettiest cars, and he let me ride in it one time. It was that blue car with the white interior. Beautiful. You remember that car? Oh, yeah, that was a great car. Yeah. And so, Coach Fisher, thanks for everything you've done for me. Jim Hartives was my offensive line coach. He came in, and one thing Coach Hartives that I contribute to Coach Hartives is teaching technique. And one thing I've always prided myself in as a coach that I've been able to, I'm a very technique-oriented kind of coach, attention to detail. So Coach Hartives gave me a lot of technique. Bob Orndorff, he was my freshman line coach. We were having a tackling drill in the beginning, my first day in camp, and I'm small. I'm a midget. Coach Rogish and I like to say we were small, but we were slow. And I was definitely one of those. So anyway, I'm going to get to you yet, Tom, so get ready. So anyhow, Coach Orndorff was one guy that believed in me from the very beginning, and we were having a tackling practice right in the beginning, and I guess I was putting all my 190 pounds in at the time to it, and he said, "Now you see this man here, he's the smallest guy in this team. One of the smallest guys, and he's given the greatest effort." And that was one thing that stuck with me for a long time. Bob Rollins was our defensive coordinator. He was a testament of a guy that taught me perseverance. Perseverance means when you know that you should be the guy and you're not the guy, but you have to continue to persevere through it. And Rollins was a guy I hated. He hated me, I hated him, but one thing I learned was perseverance, and eventually it all worked out, and we got it together. But he was not a guy I loved as a coach, but he was a guy that taught me perseverance. Tom Rogish and I go way, way back. And back in the day, in the 60s, Bedford-Chestnut Ridge was a pretty intense rivalry in all the sports. And we're wrestling in the Bedford gym, and at that time, it was packed. It was packed, and it was rocking. And Rogue and I got to wrestle each other. So Rogue put a big whipping on me. It seemed like everybody put a whipping on me in wrestling at one time or another. But anyway, Rogue put a whipping on me. But the funny thing was, when we were walking off the mat, Rogue goes to me, "Hey, Dick, now this is the gym's rocking, we're going crazy, everybody's going crazy. And Roe goes, hey Dick, how about meet me down at Dairydale afterwards, we'll have a Coke. So that was the rivalry. On the mat, on the field, we got to play against each other a little bit in football. We coached against each other. I coached at Johnstown, he coached at Altoona. And it just seemed like we were always on opposite ends. But one thing we've maintained over the years is a great, great friendship, and I consider him, he truly is one of my heroes. And I want you to know that he is very deserving of making it in the Hall of Fame in the very near future, and I hope he makes it in. So thanks, Rogie. Roger Lehman. Roger Lehman's. Roger Lehman's gave me 7 stitches above my eye before the night I got whipped by Sam Bagel. And Bob Pope was our wrestling coach, and of course Bob made me sweat down from 190 to 152 in about 3 weeks. He said, oh, you're going to wrestle Sam. I'm there like, I was a 180 pounder. I'm there, coach, he's there. No, at that time, you didn't question. The coach said, you're going to do it, you're doing it. So he sweated me down. Roger ripped my eye out. So thanks, Roger. Best friend. All right. Stan Locke, Jerry Saylor, Marlon Cathers, Roger Mitchell, Dale Showalter, they were all guys that I hung out with. We were a very close-knit group, and not only did we have success on the field, but we had success off the field. A lot of them are business owners and successful men, and it just goes to show what athletics does. And by the way, I have to attribute one thing to football that I didn't, that I was thinking about, what has football done for me? One of my fondest memories of high school football was showering after practicing a game. At home, we didn't have a shower. We had a bathtub, but we didn't have a shower. So Coach Fisher used to holler at Stan Locke and I because we'd be in that daggone shower for half an hour, and he'd be saying, I gotta get home, I gotta get home. He'd chase us out of the shower. So one of the biggest and best memories I have of high school sports is being able to shower. Okay, all right. Coach B. Coach B. Contrary to popular belief, Coach B is not, I am not Coach B's son. Okay? I might look like it because when we stand next to each other, our offensive line, we coach offensive line. Coach lets me work with the offensive line a little bit with him. And the joke around with the guys, we were always kidding each other. And one of the things they called me is Mini-Me. Because I'm always next to Coach B, and I look like a midget compared to him, obviously. But I have a nickname for him, which I don't know if I should tell it, but I'm not going to. But he gets mad when I call him the nickname, because I got to get back at him somehow. Anyway, Coach B, thanks for the opportunity of allowing me to coach on a Division I level. And come see St. Francis play. We're going to be really good this year, or else he's going to get fired, and so am I. Okay. Fellow's not here tonight is Double B, Brian Basil. He's like a brother to me. He's a kindred spirit. We have a lot of fun together. He owns a Pizza Deli six-pack, and he's currently coaching tonight for the Pittsburgh Power and Arena Football League. We coached. He was the head coach, and Chuck Geronda was one of our assistants, and I worked with Chuck and Brian, and Chuck and I used to call Brian Fearless Leader because he was a guy that we didn't think knew any football at all, and I don't know if he does. But he knows a little bit, but he was the greatest interview giver of anybody I've ever seen. We'd be on the practice field, and Chuck would make up the practice schedule, and we'd be there, we'd be working, and where's Fearless Leader? He's standing over there with the bright lights on the interview, and this newspaper, that newspaper, this TV station. He had to be there, it was pretty funny. And the away trips were even more incredible. Two of my spiritual advisors are not here tonight with us. One is had Mass at 5 o'clock. I talked to him, Father Francis Palestino. Father B is not here tonight, but he's, if you know anything about Johnstown, Father B is an institution in Johnstown. He has advised Rhodey and I many, many times in different matters. And Pastor Gary Tustin also, my pastor, is not here either. And both of those guys have been very influential. Another fellow who I consider my brother is Lenny Pashani. Lenny Pashani's here tonight again. Here again, we do a lot of talking. We counsel with each other over many, many different things. And Lenny, thanks for coming tonight. You're an awesome dude. And your family, man, your family. And then last but not least, and I hope I didn't miss anybody, I know I didn't talk to you about you, Bob, my first cousin, Bob Mock, but he's another guy that beat me in wrestling. We were in 6th grade, and Chestnut Ridge started. We were 10 years old. Were we 10, Bob? Yeah, we were 10 years old, and Joel Bowser started a wrestling program. And daggone if Bob, my first cousin, I'd have to wrestle each other. Well, I got hammered again. And so anyway, thanks, Bob, for steering me toward wrestling, or toward football. And last but not least, Charles Duranda. This guy has taught me more about college football than anybody else I've ever been around. From the simple standpoint is, he and I walked the Ghost Town Trail. If any of you are familiar with what the Ghost Town Trail is, it's a hiking trail. And we walked that thing, and I think we've solved every situation about football. We've talked everything about punt coverage, to covering a punt, to zone defense, to press man, to receiver releases, to, Obamacare, to anything you want to talk about. We talked about it and solved it. So if you ever needed to elect anybody to a public office, Chuck Durand is right there, and we can have him as a write-on ballot, and we'll be good to go. So one thing I'd like to have on my epitaph, I guess you might say, on my like to be remembered for, is that I was a people person, that I cared about all my players, and I was a good friend, and I always tried to add to people's lives. And that's what I've always tried to be, as a plus and not a minus. And also I'd like to be remembered as Bear Bryant, back in our day, Bear Bryant was the man, and he still is the man. I'm sorry he's not here anymore with us, but he was somebody I always aspired to, never reached, but they used to say that he could take his and beat yours, and take yours and beat his. And I would like to be someday thought along those lines, that somehow I made a difference with the people that I've met. Thanks a lot again. Have a great night.
Thank you guys. A lot of good stories too. Love them. One of my favorite parts of being here every year is to get to hear all the little stories. That's the best part. All right, moving on here with a fellow that I always thought was one of the best basketball players I ever played against. And again, part of the 3 Larrys, we call them, down in Hyman when we play Saxton Liberty. And I'm talking about Larry Wiles. And he went on to do great things, which didn't surprise me, in college. And presenting for Larry tonight will be his daughter, Michelle. So Michelle Herbert coming up here will be presenting for her daddy, Larry
Wiles. Good evening. Obviously, I'm a little young to know all the stories. Heard a lot of great stories tonight. I want to congratulate all the honorees. Just fantastic stories, and what wonderful athletes, of which my dad is absolutely one of. We heard so many stories growing up. He was not shy about telling all the stories of all of his sports accomplishments and all the friends he had. Kenny and Danny are here, and a lot of his other friends. So one of the things that he did when he asked me to introduce him is he said, "Good God, Michelle, please don't be boring. Please don't just stand up there and tell story after story about me." He said, "I want it to be a little bit interesting or a little bit unique." So we decided that, along with some of his family and friends, of which we have about over 40 people here, I just think it's amazing, and it's a real testament to my dad that people from the friends that he had when he was just wee little, who showed up here all the way through, his teammates, his whole family is here, and his friends that he's gotten to know over the last couple of years. So it's definitely a testament to you, Dad. And I was going to sing a serious song, you know, Wind Beneath My Wings or something really beautiful. And we decided to forgo that. This is a song that reminds me of my dad growing up. And you know what's coming, don't you? He'll love it. So anyway, some of our family and friends are going to join in. If you know the chorus, please join in. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. He can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause he gets better looking each day. To know him is to love him. He must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but he's doing the best that he can. And a little about his life. Playing basketball at Tussey, he told us he was a big deal. If you didn't catch an elbow, you were blindsided by the quick steal. 3 Larrys, 2 Broomballs, and a Weimer were the core of the 61 team. They had short shorts and knee socks and flat tops. They thought they were every girl's dream. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. He can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause he gets better looking each day. To know him is to love him. He must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but he's doing the best that he can. Then off he went to E-Town, where his sister did most of his work. There he met my beautiful mother, certainly the best of all college perks. Now retired and loving farm life, 160 acres he tends. Who knew number 21 was such a big shot? Well, we did. Your family, your teammates, your friends. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. He can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause he gets better looking each day. To know him is to love him. He is a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but he's doing the best that he can. My dad, Larry Waffles.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you imagine living with that for the last 19 years? What a great and remarkable daughter. And good evening, folks. It's good to be standing up here. And I used to play in front of thousands of people. And I don't think it was as intimidating as it is with this crowd here tonight for me. I would like to begin by congratulating all the inductees who came before me. It is such a privilege to be among such great athletes. And congratulations to the Huffman boys from Tussey Mountain on getting your Community Service Award. You two are the true heroes here tonight. Thank you for all you do. And now to share a little of my story. I always wanted to be Roy Rogers, or the Lone Ranger, or sometimes Roberto Clemente, Mickey Mantle, or Willie Mays. But then when I would awaken to the sounds of roosters crowing and cows mooing, I knew I was still on the old farm in the valley next to Tussey Mountain outside of Saxton. Life for me began in 1943 while the world was literally being torn apart during World War II. The valley next to that majestic mountain remained virtually untouched and unimproved. During those times, my life was different than today. It was much simpler. We had no bathroom, no TV. We took a bath in a round metal tub once a week, whether we needed it or not. We cooked on an old cook stove and heated our house with a wood furnace with no heat on the second floor. Some of you old timers remember that. We had no well but got our water from a gravity flow pipe from the mountain. Daily our cows were driven to the mountain pasture by me and would drink from the same stream where we got our water. As cows do, if you know cows, they would stand in the water to drink and would pee in the water. John back here just said it. Daily I would hear one of my three sisters, who are here tonight, yell at me as they drank a glass of water. Larry, those darn cows peed in the water again. Do something about it. As though I had control over those old cows. I never got used to drinking cow pee myself. I was never out of the state of Pennsylvania until I was 18 years old, and never saw the ocean until my honeymoon at age 22 with my lovely wife. There were no basketball or baseball camps back in those days, no organized out-of-season sports, no weight rooms, and no three-point field goals. If it sounds like a sheltered and naive life, it was. Playing sports, I found, would be my ticket to experience and see life in the big world outside that valley in Bedford County. And oh my folks, what an experience and ride it has been for this old farm boy. To get to this point in my life has been challenging and wonderful, and now to get this award is awesome. What an honor. First, thank you, board members. Your honoring me is deeply appreciated and something I shall cherish forever. And much thanks goes to Jeff Torito and Ron McCann for orchestrating my induction. You make me proud to be a Tussey Mountain Titan. As I look over the audience here tonight, what a great feeling to see the people who have come from near and far to share in this honor with me. To my relatives and friends, I am honored and humbled you are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are wonderful folks. A special thanks goes to the two sweetest and most adorable daughters one could ever ask for in Trinell Heather, who couldn't be here tonight, and to my sweetheart daughter here, Michelle Robin. You make me proud to be a dad. But the most heartwarming thanks goes to my wife, who shared in my sports life since we met in my junior year in college, and has supported me through thick and thin since then. Phyllis became very savvy and knowledgeable about basketball and softball. Thank you, Phyllis, you have been a saint. Having grown up in the country, folks, with very little money drove me to succeed my whole life. I was blessed with a work ethic and the drive to do my best. Doing hard work was just part of growing up in the country, watching my grandparents and my mom and dad work from daylight to dark on their old farms. I learned well from them, so practicing and playing with intensity in baseball and basketball came rather naturally. I grew up throwing a ball against any wall I could find, and I loved batting rocks as a kid. Folks, if you've never batted rocks, you've missed out on something really special. I never saw a rock I didn't want to bat. And little Larry, where's he? Sitting down there. If you don't have any rocks to bat, you get your father to bring you in a load of rocks and you start batting rocks. By the time I was about 14 years old, I had graduated from throwing a ball against the barn, the house, the corn crib, the chicken house, and implement building, to throwing a golf ball against the cement blocks on the foundation of our house. Which, if you know golf balls and cement blocks, the golf ball comes back mighty fast and makes a thump-thump sound inside the house. My oldest sister, Mana, who's sitting back there, will vouch for this. She was always reading and disliked this sound immensely. Just so happened one day that golf ball came back extra fast, and before I got my glove up, that ball hit me directly between the eyes and dropped me like a rock. As most tough guys do, I ran inside to show my nose to my mother. My nose by that time was almost as big as my golf club. As Mom took the golf ball and was working on my battered nose and was soothing my embarrassment, my sister Mona, who I could see off to the side reading her book, was uncontrollably laughing and saying, "Finally, Mom took that damn golf ball from him." Folks, I've had many a thrill and highlight in sports, although some stand out more than others. Playing on the 1960-61 undefeated Tussey Mountain basketball team was one. During the 50s and early 60s, while Elvis Presley gyrated the GI Blues and Hound Dog, and my sister Sally, Joanne, and I danced to Chubby Checkers the Twist while we milked the cows in the old dairy barn, Coach Max Schoenfeld was making basketball history by building a winner on the mountain that hadn't been matched before or since, winning 20 straight games and going undefeated. Teams have been shooting for that record, but no one has succeeded to my knowledge. That was 52 years ago. Coach Schoenfeld and Coach John Cook started most of us out as 7th and 8th graders, and when we were sophomores, juniors, and seniors, we were three-time Bedford County champions, and when we were seniors, we were undefeated. That group of boys had all the ingredients of a champion. The team was big and dominated the rebounding, had big-time scoring, averaging 79.5 points per game, while giving up only 50 per game. There were no weaknesses on that club. What a thrill to be part of that team. It was like living an athletic dream that year and what movies are made about. Off to college, and my 1964 Elizabethtown College team became the first team in the history of the school to win the Middle Atlantic Conference Championship, and we came within a couple points of going to the Final Four in Evansville, Indiana that same year. And then going 19-1 my senior year in college were all highlights. The other day when I added up the wins in my senior years in high school and college, it came to 39 wins and only 1 defeat. Those were special times. I would not be standing before you tonight if it weren't for my teammates and coaches from all those past years. And I am honored to have in the audience tonight some of my former teammates. Wow, this is very, very special for me. First, my teammate on my 1956 junior high championship is here. Bill Lloyd, wave to the crowd if you will, Bill. There he is. He looks the same as he did back then. Next, in 1959, this point guard, who was an excellent athlete, was on the varsity with me when we won the Bedford County Championship. Larry McGacken, wave to the crowd if you will, Larry. There he is. Terry Brood, who I played baseball with. Terry, wave to the crowd. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Next are my teammates from that undefeated 1961 team. I'd like these guys to stand, if you would. The guys that played on my undefeated 61 team, get up. Stay standing, guys, stay standing. Kenny, I know you're old, you can't stand very well. And when I introduce you, if you please wave to the crowd so they know who you are. First of all, Tim Moore. Tim came down from White Plains, New York. Tim was a junior on that team and an excellent athlete. Thank you, Tim. Next, Big Dan Broombaugh. Dan, I don't remember you being quite that big then, you know. I mean, he was big and strong. Well, a super athlete this man was. He was the only junior that played on that the first string that senior year. Thank you very much, Dan. I really appreciate your coming. And lastly, Dr. Ken Broombaugh, who was my best friend in high school. What a character this guy was. I mean, he doesn't look it, but you know, some of the things that he did, I couldn't tell you. Ken was an excellent athlete, played on that 61 basketball team with me. And Ken came the whole way from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, gentlemen. These guys were my buddies, and I am so humbled and grateful that they've made the trip. One person missing tonight is Larry Hollingshead, who was a main call in our undefeated season, and a guy I went to school with from first grade through 4 years of college. Larry stood about 6'3", 6'4", and he was an unusual guy in that he jumped center and helped bring the ball up the court. What a super athlete Larry was. But unfortunately, Larry died much too soon at the age of 26. part of Larry's family are here tonight to help me celebrate. It's been 44 years since I've seen them. They're sitting down front here with me. Larry's wife back then, Sue's here. His sister Carolyn and his brother George are all here. Wave to the crowd, folks. I am so appreciative, folks. It warms my heart that you are here. And I must say to my dear friend Larry Hollingshead, I miss you and think of you often. I wish you were here. You were certainly one of the good guys. I was so blessed in the world of sports to have experienced many personal honors and highlights, but something more important touched my heart athletically. That was teaching and coaching my two daughters in sports. What a joy to watch two little girls grow and improve athletically. It sure paid off as my youngest, Trinell Heather, became an excellent athlete and a great hitter, who swung the bat like Henry Aaron and was a gifted first baseman. Trinell made the all Lebanon County softball team in high school and helped lead her team to a Lebanon County League championship. Older sister Michelle Robin was an outstanding pitcher in high school and an outstanding athlete, and had a 3-year softball pitching record of 45 wins and only 7 defeats. Michelle was an excellent hitter and was fundamentally sound in all aspects of both softball and basketball. Michelle led her softball team to 2 Lebanon County League championships. What special girls, and a treat to coach for any dad. And finally, to close, I'd like to share 3 things. I'd like to mention my dad, who's no longer with us, who was the most instrumental person in me playing sports. Wherever you are, Dad, I'm sure you're smiling and celebrating and dancing on the clouds. You may have been a pain in my backside at times, but I shall be forever grateful because you were always there for me. And to my 3 sisters, Mona, Sally, and Joanne, it was such a blessing to be your brother. And thanks for playing ball with me. It certainly paid off. And to my mama, who's no longer with us, who sewed ankle pouches and pockets in an old vest and filled both with sand that I wore all summer on the farm prior to my senior year in high school so I could run faster and jump higher. Thanks, Mom, and guess what? I think it worked. And secondly, I no longer wish to be Roy Rogers or Roberto Clemente. I am content to be that ex-farm boy from Tussey Mountain and the 70-year-old man who had his time in the world of sports and is now a member of the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame. Can you believe it, Dad? And once again, to my friends and relatives who have traveled here to be with me on this truly heartwarming occasion, I am honored, humbled, and feel so fortunate to have you in my life. And to the other folks here tonight, thank you dearly. The great spirit in the big country sky has been good to me. My life has been a fascinating road travel. And last, I would like to close in a little different manner than my predecessors here tonight. I would like to sing a song by, it comes with the family, I guess. I would like to sing a song by Roy Rogers called Happy Trails, which was popular when I was a kid, and the words are still appropriate today. The difference between my daughter and me is that I can't carry a tune. I would like to dedicate this to my Berks County buddies who are sitting. All right, yay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'd like to dedicate this song to my Berks County buddies back there in front of me: Cool Hand Johnny, Silky Smooth Fred, Slick Davy, and Fast Talking George. And also I'd like to dedicate it to Railroad Mike and to the mountain man himself from Saxton, Alan Miller. If you know the song and you would like to join in, please feel free to do so. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about clouds when we're together? Just sing a song along and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you, till we meet again. God bless Tussey Mountain and God bless Bedford County sports.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Larry. I still want to be Roy Rogers. Till the day I die. Well, Dick Fisher, come on back up here because we got one of the finest baseball teams that ever come out of Bedford County that's going to be introduced next, and that is the 1955 Chestnut Ridge, some say Shellsburg, Chestnut Ridge baseball team.
I'm very pleased to ask my members of the 1955 undefeated Chestnut Ridge baseball team to introduce them tonight as a new member of the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame. Having been a coach, a teacher, and athletic director at Chestnut Ridge for 41 years, from 1964 to 2005, I'm glad they've selected me for this honor to introduce them. Your program tells the story of all their success. I'm not going to go into all the season details. But this team captured the first ever championship for the newly formed Chestnut Ridge School District. And then the 6-year Bedford County League championship reign by Saxton Liberty. Sorry, Larry. The Saxton Liberty won the Bedford County Championship when the year it was formed in 1949 for 6 straight years. But the Chestnut Ridge Lions came on in 1955 and ended that 6-year reign. The new high school didn't open until 1955, so the Chestnut Ridge team went to school at the old Shellsburg Napier High School, but they wanted that name Chestnut Ridge. And they told me emphatically, we were not the Shellsburg baseball team, we were Chestnut Ridge High School in 1955. I have a sort of special interest in this team. In 1955, I was a freshman at Bedford High School, and that year was the first year ever for Bedford High School baseball. Coach Ned Whetstone started the Bedford High School baseball team. Our first year was my freshman year of 1954-55. So I had the thrill of playing against these guys that year. And later on, I played with them and against them, both in high school ball, later in Legion ball and county ball. We lost that year twice to the Lions. They beat us twice, but we did finish second in the league in our first year, so I'm proud of that. As we got together for planning this get-together tonight, I told the team players, I said, I went 5 for 5 against Stan Corley, but I think I never even saw the ball. If you know Stan Corley, he's one of the greatest pitchers in Bedford County high school baseball history. This team had outstanding individual players. Stan Corley and Jack Dieter both went on to sign professional contracts and played minor league baseball. The other players in the team played for many years in county baseball and county softball leagues after their graduation. It was a tremendous baseball team. The team was coached by Mr. John Koza. John Koza was known as one of the finest baseball coaches in the area. Unfortunately, Coach Koza passed away and is not able to be with us. I know he would love to have been here. At this time, it's an honor to welcome the 1955 undefeated Chestnut Ridge baseball team. I'd like to bring up Mr. Stan Corley. Stan's going to be the spokesman for the team, and Stan will introduce all the team members, and maybe they'd like to say a few words, but Stan, come on up here and talk about your team and introduce them to us.
representing our undefeated 1955 championship baseball team. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor and my privilege to speak on behalf of my teammates from the 1955 undefeated baseball team from Chestnut Ridge High. First, I would like to thank the Bedford County Hall of Fame Selection Committee for recognizing our accomplishments and congratulate all of this year's Hall of Fame inductees. I would like to introduce the members of our 1955 championship team that were able to be here tonight. At this time, I would like for Jack Diener, Ross Cook, Paul Horner, Tom Whitcomb, John Bennett, Art Miltenberger, Mick Colvin, Owen Miller, and Jim Miller. Please come to the front. And now I would like for a moment of silence for those who passed away and our coach, Mr. Koza. Thank you. Jim Miller, Tom Whitcomb, Owen Miller, Ross Cook, Paul Horner, Jack Diener, Art Miltenberger, Mick Colvin, and Don Bennett. Do any of you guys wish to say something? All right.
I wasn't a very good athlete, so the only position I could make the team on was catcher. So I was always the catcher. And I remember Danny Kerr. We were when I was a senior. I graduated in 1956, and that was the first year we had basketball. And Danny was playing for Bedford, and he was significantly a better player than any of us. The other thing that I want to say is that. Unlike our friend from Tussey Mountain, I still want to be Roy Rogers.
Thank you. Playing baseball in 1955 was a lot different than what it is today. Most of the players lived at least 3 to 10 miles away from the school. And we had to provide our own transportation for practices and the games because the school at that time didn't provide any. Our parents were too busy working in order to make a living to keep us going to school. And we had to walk, hitch a ride, or however we could get home. It was also the responsibility of the players to get the field ready. We didn't have no custodians or managers or whatever you call it. We had to get it ready. Matter of fact, when I think back, the only thing we did not do was umpire. Coach Koza also had to wear a number of hats. one of which was our trainer. He had to make sure that we're all physically ready to play ball. He was always there after each game, no matter who pitched, to rub the pitcher's arms down and make sure that they were ready to play the next game. Equipment has changed dramatically in the past 58 years. Most notably is the aluminum bats. If Jack and Dean had those bats, they would still be looking for the balls that they launched out of the field. They could hit them out of Grand Canyon. We knew going into the 1955 season, we had the nucleus to have a good team and a good shot at winning the Bedford County Championship. Coach Koza was not going to let this opportunity slip by. He made sure that any situation that would come up in the game, we was already prepared for at practices. He always had a better prepared team than our competitors, not only physically, but also mentally. From the first practice, he convinced us that the Saxton Liberty dominance in Bedford County High School baseball was over. We had better athletes, and we were going to dethrone them. Coach Koza always said, before the game, opposing teams can only put 9 players out on the field the same as our 9. But there's no GD reason our 9 isn't better. So let's go get them. The confidence he instilled in us and the winning attitude played a large role in our success in 1955. And it has been a tremendous asset for us throughout our lives. The members of that team can no longer hit a baseball 300 feet, sprint from home to third, make a running catch in deep center, throw a runner out from deep in the infield, or throw an 80-mile-an-hour plus fastball. Age has taken away from us, but the memory of that season, as well as the honor tonight, will remain with us for our entire life. Thank you. Well, all you guys, remember, you're going to get your picture right now for those guys, Bill? Okay, great. We're going to, because we want to make sure the same thing for the wrestling team coming up. We want to get everybody sticking around. Got that one? Oh, you guys are on the ball. What about the racing team? They'll get that after. Okay. With no further ado, that was the classic team. We're going to now honor the modern team. Look at that here, 1977 Northern Bedford wrestling team, which I remember well. And the presenter tonight is another good friend of mine, Rod Hoover. And I haven't seen Rod yet tonight, but he's here, is he not? All right, he's coming. So we're looking for Rod. Oh man, he's decked out to the nines tonight. He doesn't have his camo shirt on tonight, buddy. Is Harry here tonight, by the way? All right, good deal. Rod Hoover will be introducing the 77 wrestling team from Northern Bedford High School.
Oh, what an honor to be here tonight to present this team. It was a tremendous honor to coach them. It's going to be more of a tremendous honor to have them inducted into the Hall of Fame. First, I'd like to thank the committee for nominating us, especially Mr. Al Grenning and Jeff Basil, who kind of did all the work to get things together, and to congratulate all the honorees. What an honor to be here, to be part of that, and watch those fine athletes from today and yesterday being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'd like for all the guys that are here to come on up and stand in front here, please. Not everyone made it, but a really good nucleus made it. And
Why me first?
okay, just to start off, go to my left here. First guy there's longtime coach, former wrestler, and longtime friend, Mr. Harry Geyer, who's helped coach with me for a long time. The next guy, when you call your name, just raise your hand, please. Dale Crawford is next, and John Beach, Steve Dodson, Robert Geyer, Brian Detweiler, Steve Ritchie, Jan Clark, Jody Henry, Jody Emler, my mind's going crazy here, Jay Clark, and Victor Hart, and the last of the Sollenberger brothers, Mark Sollenberger. Now these guys, as a coach, were the epitome of coaching. Everybody knows that you want to win, but not everybody wants to prepare to win. These guys had a mission, and it was evident when they came to practice as ninth graders. Some of them wrestled varsity all 4 years, but it dramatically changed our program for the 4 years that they were there, because they made a lot of juniors and seniors scramble to maintain their position. And it didn't matter what I asked them to do, they would do it, and they wanted more. They had a goal to be successful and athletic. If you look at the bio, you can see that they were very successful. They were a joy to coach. There was, as coaches, you know, things have changed a lot. You could treat kids a little differently then than you can today. But these guys would not back down from anything. And I heard one of them say one time, well, don't complain about coach because he treats everybody fairly. And another guy said, yeah, like dogs. But they were the hardest working group of guys I ever was associated with, and I was so blessed to be at Northern Bedford when these guys came through. They made each other better, they made everybody around them better, and I just can't say enough about these individuals. I'm so glad that they are inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I just have so much feeling of pride for what they've accomplished. Not only athletically, but these guys were successful in life. They learned how to succeed, and they aren't afraid. I've heard so many times tonight people say they learned to work hard. These guys learned to work hard. Some of them had to work hard at home, some of them had to work hard at practice, but they all worked hard. They were the heart and soul of our athletic teams, whether it's football, wrestling, or track, baseball. They were competitors in everything they did. And there's some of them went on to become, well, all of them went on to become successful. Some of them in business, some of them have their own businesses, some of them are professionals, but they're all good characters. They all became fathers, so children are successful in athletics. Some of them were national championship teams. Some of them were competitors at every level of sports. So it's just a real honor to coach them and be part of their program. So I'm just proud to present these guys to you as members of the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you. Any of you guys have any comments you want to make?
Just been half of the wrestling team. We had two great coaches that pushed us along, and that was the key to our success. And Rod and Harry, you know, a lot of times they were competitors with us. They were on the mats wrestling us as much as, you know, we were at practice. They pushed us and pushed us and pushed us. So a lot of the award we're getting here comes from these two guys. We thank them.
You guys take a look at that. You certainly deserve it. And then getting it from a Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame coach, too. Well deserved. Congratulations, guys. We have a unique group coming in this year, and well-deserved group, and we're very glad that they're able to be part of this induction ceremony tonight, and to introduce the Hobby Auto Racing Association going into the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame, Jake Hoover and Eric Zembauer. Jake and Eric.
Boy, what a great evening here tonight to hear all these stories that, you know, again, it's unbelievable what has happened here in Bedford County over these last not too many years. Jake, you gonna make it there, buddy? When the World War II was over, that generation, you know, went through a lot. And it was those individuals that decided that they wanted to run race cars. And a lot of that was from the part of the World War II deal, you know, the advent of the automobile, you know, winning the war, all that. And can you just imagine that bunch of guys, and I mean Jack Sponsler, Frank Dunkel, and Mel Norris, coming up with this idea, and there was others involved, but those guys to come up with this idea that they're going to build a speedway here in Bedford County. And I know Jack can tell the story a lot better than I can, and I want to get Jack and Frank up here a little bit later, but for them you couldn't even imagine it now, even trying to build a speedway. But they did. And they formed a group to oversee the racing at South Penn. And I want to read you a little story from their 1963 yearbook, and it really does tell the story of the South Penn Speedway and the Hobby Auto Racing Association. In the fall of 1955, South Penn Speedway was built by Jack Sponsler, and a meeting was organized by area persons interested in auto racing. Out of that meeting was formed the Hobby Auto Racing Association, with Frank Dunkel serving as its first president, with Ray Robinson, Orville Connor, Mac McKnight, and Bob Barnes as directors. Within 2 weeks, the first event was scheduled and run. In the ensuing weeks, 8 events were held, and although an official point system was not kept, Ralph Flegel was designated as point leader. Junior Ritchie won the first race. In the final race of the season, 40 cars were in the pits, and in those days, it was uncommon if at least 5 or more flips did not occur during a day's racing program. We look at our safety now and look at the lack of safety then. How did someone not really get hurt is beyond me. The future of the next season appeared to be assured, and plans were immediately formulated for the 1956 season. All officers were retained, and an opening date in April was set. The season got off to a good start, but in a matter of months, racetracks appeared on the countryside like dandelions. It was a period of transition, frustration, and reorganization of ideas. Crowds were fair, and the fields of cars were the same as other associations and outlaw groups and promoters tried their venture into auto racing. Finally, in 1959, with President Mel Norris gaining experience and surrounding himself with capable aides, the period ended and the association adopted a more modern set of rules. The first overhead V8s made their appearance. Because of the expense involved, the fields of cars were limited to 12 and 15, but the fans started to come in greater numbers. Another division of strictly stock cars was organized called cadets. This was an immediate hit. By 1962, the fields were increasing in both the modified and cadet divisions, and Hara was being recognized as a group to be reckoned with. Fan interest ran high, competition was fierce, and at the end of the season, more than $4,000 in point money and $500 worth of trophies were presented at the annual banquet in November to all modified drivers and owners who participated in one half of the scheduled races in the top 10 in the cadets. And things were growing, and there were other tracks that were racing, and the hobby group kept things going, made it a big deal. And when you talk about big deals, it was with the moms and dads bringing their kids to watch our great heroes. And Jake Hoover was there. Jake?
You know, John introduced the group as unique. And I stood here thinking, you know, most people when they think of doing something other than their regular job, recreational, you know, they think in terms of maybe a bag of golf clubs, bowling ball, you know, a boat, whatever. You know, who are these people that when they think of doing something leisurely, they go buy a race car so they can work on it every night, you know, go to the track, go through all the challenges that's involved in racing. And believe you me, there's a multitude. What you see at the track is just a fraction of what's involved in going out there and racing. Like Eric said, to think that, you know, a group of guys back in 1955, how many of these fellows do you think thought back then, wonder if we're going to be inducted into a County Hall of Fame in 2013? Probably not too many. These guys were just trying to do their thing at the time and do it the best they could, and, you know, gave no thought down the road. But they did it so well, and it was unique the way they did it. There has not been many clubs in Pennsylvania that had the longevity that Hobby Auto Racing had. They had a great organization, they had some great leadership down there, and it lasted the test of time. That group survived during a transitional period of cars from being just drive to the track junkyard to actually modifying the special type of frames and bodies and whatnot. So it takes a lot of good leadership, it takes some cooperation from the individuals, and they deserve all the credit that they're getting here tonight. And I'd like to thank the committee for inducting them. I know racing maybe not the thing that, you know, is on everybody's mind when it comes to Hall of Fame, but I think they're certainly deserving. In 1963, just a little bit about me, I had no thoughts of ever going to a racetrack. I was all about playing ball and spending time with my friends. But a neighborhood family invited me to a race at South Penn. It was a July 4th firecracker special, and the three fellows that went with me, all we could think about was, hey, there's going to be fireworks here tonight. We're going to go see the fireworks, you know. Racing is secondary. It didn't happen that way. We get down to South Penn, and all four of us were just smitten by what was going on down there. It was the sights, the sounds, the smells, everything involved in that racing organization and that speedway that just captured our imagination. We couldn't imagine the excitement we were seeing, and we couldn't wait for the next week. None of our families actually went themselves, so we had to hang around families all Saturday to see if maybe somebody would invite us to ride along. And, you know, we would wait it out to the very end. The track was only 8 miles from where I lived, but at times it might have been 80 miles because I couldn't get there. But Monday morning we'd read the papers and see the results. The speedway, you know, had everything that a top track needs, and on top of that, they had the one thing that a lot of tracks lack. They had superstars. They had drivers that could go leave this area and win any place, anytime, anywhere. And believe you me, if you travel across the countryside within the racing circle, even now, people know wherever Bedford, Woodbury, Saxton, all the surrounding areas, because there was drivers that was winning elsewhere that was representing, the speedway there. So I just wanted to congratulate Hobby Auto Racing for all you did over the years. You established a foundation that we're still, taking advantage of up there in Bedford on a weekly basis. On top of everything you guys did, you built a fan base that has rolled over 2 generations now. And, we're still benefiting from what you guys did down there. So thank you very much. Thanks for the committee. I think, what you're doing here is an excellent thing, because so many times in life, we want to knock people or criticize people, and to recognize people for their accomplishments in their field of expertise, I think is a great thing. So thank you very much.
Now I'd like to bring up the builder of the South Penn Speedway, Mr. Jack Sponsler, and the first Hobby Auto Racing president and one of their star drivers, Mr. Frank Dunkel. Come on up, fellas. I just want to give a quick mention to the guys, everybody here, that they actually made up the old Hobby Auto Racing decals again. So we have a stacked load of decals that we're going to be giving to everyone here tonight with the group. And I just think that is extraordinary that back in 1963, Frank and the gang came up with a logo with a car on it that really looks really, really cool. So I hope you see the logo around on everything, and that we have decals up on it now. So, Frank, you want to go first? Do you hear what Frank said? Let the owner go first. Jack Sponsler, everybody.
First thing I gotta say is Zembauer stole my thunder. I was going to talk about South Penn, and he's already done that. Start off here by saying good evening and welcome to South Penn Speedway for another night of exciting auto racing presented by HARA, or Hobby Auto Racing Association. Anybody remember that? Well, when it was decided to construct a racetrack on land purchased just outside Everett, with input from Frank Dunkel and some others, who others are no longer with us, because that was 46 years ago. Some of us had been going to weekly races up at Jennerstown, and Frank and some other guys had built a car to run at Jennerstown. And when they went up there that night, they didn't have a driver, and they couldn't get any experienced drivers up there to run the car, so they put an inexperienced driver in the car, and he promptly demolished it on the first race. So during the construction of the proposed racetrack, the name South Penn Speedway was selected because the old South Penn Railroad right-of-way, which eventually was sold to the commission to build the turnpike, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, was on the same property. Hence the name South Penn Speedway. So during construction, discussions were held about how racing was going to be managed at the new racetrack. It was discussed about how the promoter at Jennerstown, who was also a driver, and a good one at that, would compete and win some of his own prize money. Well, it was felt that that was not a healthy situation. So it was decided to form an organization that would be separate from the Speedway management, such as NASCAR had done 8 years before. So after a series of meetings, the name Hobby Auto Racing Association was adopted to be the organization that would represent owners and drivers that would be competing at the new racetrack. Okay, that association then went for the next 12 years under the leadership of Mel Norris, gaining considerable reputation for presenting exciting stock car racing. Even a few drivers from the Midwest had heard about this little racetrack in Pennsylvania, and barnstorming around the country decided to come in here and kick a little butt. But to their amazement, when all was said and done, it was their butt who got kicked. So keep it in your hearts, folks. Long live Hara. Thank you.
Mr. Frank Uncle, Frank?
Thank you, and I want to thank you particularly, Eric, on your hard work and never putting this thing forward and getting these incidents. When Jack said he was going to build a racetrack, as he told you, I'd had some experience. In fact, my first experience was 10 years old. I was the first one on the grandstand at the Bedford Fairgrounds. And they had the Saturday races. And kind of got inbred into me that way. And I saw it. And with other things, we got a good set of directors. And our efforts were to keep the costs low. For $50, you put a car on the track and race. Think about it, $50. Be competitive, have fun. Tires only run $5 on it. What do they run now?
Oh,
$130. But it was, we kept it cheap and it was very successful. The first year we started in September, we had 6 races. And by the end of them, we had about 50 cars running, just loaded. And we started getting a participation base from Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia, and also a good fan base. That's what really helped make us. And of course, things went on. And my thing about it is the way it has influenced future generations. Sitting over that table, we got, someone said second generation, we got third generation that were affected by that. And I look around and see how the import, and particularly Gerald Chamberlain, and some of them went on to big success and notary in other forms of racing. And as you say, it was not just a little track, it was the track. And I'm glad we're here, I'm glad everyone participated, and thank you guys all, you made it.
What I'd like to do is bring up some of the movers and shakers of that time period, and just when I call your name, just start working your way up and I'll go down through the list. When they built South Penn and the story of the other tracks being built, well, here in Bedford County, we had the Saxton Speedway, which was up the old, just down from Stoutenauer Chevrolet where the ball fields are at. And we had the North Bedford Speedway at Belton, which is currently the Hammer Stables for his horse racing team. And very unique there that there was a racetrack built first, and it went then to horses, where at Bedford and all around the country they were horse tracks first, then went to racing. But Don Steele is here. He was one of the Saxton delegation that would come down to Everett. Don, come on up, and your son Rick, please come up too, second generation driver, and grew up with racing. The whole family raced, and they raced all over. Back then you could race 4 or 5 times a week practically. Another family that has been a big part of racing, the LaSalle family. Charlie LaSalle is here. He was one of the officials at Everett. And sons Chuck and Dion are here, second generation drivers. Come on up, guys. And now both Chuck and Dion's sons are now racing. So just unbelievable when it all has to do with the races starting at Everett. The Whetstone family from Woodbury. Doc Whetstone, one of the back in 1963, was considered the old driver. He was 40 years old, 41 years old, and he was the old driver. And now I'm still racing. I'm going to be 50. So when I think of Doc being one of the old guys back then, that's unbelievable. And Doc Whetstone, come on up, and his son Daryl, that raced for many years, retired last year, but Daryl still has his car, and I bet you he's going to race again sometime. Doug Arnold's here. Doug's father, Boyd Arnold, was one of those movers and shakers with the Hobby Auto Racing Association. Doug, come on up. And Doug has been doing research about his father's racing career, and you can see it on the Williams Grove Old Timers website at the Eastern Museum of Motor Racing. A very nice tribute to Doug's dad, Boyd Arnold. Ray Horner's here. Ray, come on up. Ray is representing his uncle, Harry Horner. And Harry was one of those independent drivers that you needed. He was there every week and participated and enjoyed it. And Ray was so happy that we didn't forget about his uncle. The Elbins from Woodbury. Bobby Elbin Sr., one of the top drivers in the number F100. His head mechanic, Bill Gables, here. Come on up, Bill and Bob. And Bob's son, Bob Jr., that went into racing also. They still have their team today. Jeff Ryan from Danville drives the car, late model number 92, up at Bedford. Come on up, guys. Jerry Robinson, Jerry's dad, Ray Robinson, one of the top mechanics, was mechanic for Junior Ritchie and Orville Connor, and Jerry's representing his dad tonight. Come on up, Jerry. And Jerry, still involved in racing, and is, very appreciative of his dad's involvement and how much influence Ray Robinson had on racing here in Bedford County. The Cowboy, Jim Kennedy. Come on up, Jim. Jim had to work his schedule out because Jim is still racing. He races a sprint car, and the sprint car division that he participates in is a 305 division. It's a smaller motor deal, but Jim still gets at it. He's excited to race. He says, "I can't sleep at night. I'm so excited to race." And the Cowboy is quite the legend here in Bedford County and through the whole Northeast. In 1965, one major thing that the Hobby Auto Racing Association did was they started what they called the Semilate division. These were the modern automobiles, the cars that drove up and down the streets every day. And what that did was brought a whole new bunch of drivers and created a division that turned into what they call late models that I still race today, that is still in existence and is very, very much a major part of racing in the whole country. Tracks throughout the United States at that time period started to run these semi-late and late model cars, and we have two drivers here tonight. Dave Height, who drove the two bits, and Mr. Mace 4 in the number 50. Come on up, guys. We talked about Mel Norris and his contributions to racing. After the Hobby Auto Racing Association disbanded in 1968, Mel kept in the sport. He eventually became the promoter at the Bedford Fairgrounds Raceway, and that whole link right there, when Mel Norris came to Bedford to promote, really transcended into our second generation of drivers. And Dave Height and Mace 4 was a part of that. And the Turk Burketts and the Jim Naves and the Gary Martzes, and they're household names now. And we still talk about them every race night. So the Norris family, they are here. Mel's daughters, Debbie, Karen, and Pam, could you come on up? Mel was very well liked in the racing community and really was a big part of racing. And Mel last promoted his last show at Bedford in 1978, and that is still being felt today, like Jake said. And last but not least, the fellow that has put Bedford County on the map, Everett, Pennsylvania, the Everett Express, Gerald Chamberlain's here. Come on up, Gerald. Gerald went on and became champion at the Reading Fairgrounds at Flemington. I know there's 11 people here tonight, and they know who Gerald Chamberlain is. And Gerald ran 2 Sprint Cup races in 1969. He ran the Southern 500, finished 10th. Dave Marcus finished 9th, and Richard Petty finished 11th. But on that same weekend, he was racing at Reading and was flying back and forth from Darlington to Reading, and made more money running at the modified at Reading than he did running NASCAR. And the story sort of speaks for itself. Gerald and Gus were looking to go and to run NASCAR, and they got a taste of that. Gerald ran Daytona, but there was more money to be made, and his master mechanic, Gus Fear, and if Gus is still here, come on up, Gus. You know, those two really made history, and when I go out in the racing world, and I'm wherever, I say I'm from Everett, Pennsylvania, because of Gerald Chamberlain. And Dion and Chuck, we've talked about that 1,000 times. Dion, come up here and say a couple things here real quick.
I want to thank everybody for having us up here tonight. Sports Hall of Fame we all wasn't really good football players or basketball players. I have the utmost respect for these guys, but we were all pretty good with the steering wheel in our hand, and that's kind of what we knew a little bit about. Like the gentleman mentioned tonight about the heroes and stuff, my heroes were all on Friday and Saturday nights, and that was these guys here. Couldn't wait to get to the Speedway. I wanted to be Gerald Chamberlain. Any one of these racers over here, that's who I wanted to be. And couldn't wait to get there, and then it became my opportunity to try to fill these guys' footsteps in. But these guys were sure great racers. They inspired me to go on, and I just, matter of fact, came out of retirement here about 3 weeks ago and started driving again. Didn't do too good the first night, but no one had a bigger smile than me on my face. Thank you.
He wasn't in with our group, he's here with the Dan Kerr group, but by marriage, Steve Rice, come on up here. And Steve's dad owned the Don Rice Ford Motor Company here in Bedford, and sponsored Gerald and Gus for all those years, and Steve became a racer himself. So when Steve walked in, I said, "Hey, we're sitting over there." He said, "No, I'm sitting here with the Kerrs." I said, "Okay." So trying to get them, pushed to where they should be. But hey, Chuck, just come up here and close this out for us tonight. And tell us your feel.
I also would like to thank everybody. It really meant a lot to these guys and my father to be inducted. It's like everybody else said, you can't imagine the work every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, wreck them Friday, race them Saturday, wreck them Saturday, run them again Sunday. I mean, the money and the time, these guys they started a legacy. I no longer race anymore, not by my choice. I have a aortic aneurysm, so the wife and the doctor pulled the plug on me, so I'm not allowed to race. But my oldest son, racing now in the modified division, along with my brother and his son, and it's a great sport. A lot of people don't think it's a sport, but I'm going to tell you, if you get in one of those cars and you try to make about 10 laps on the racetrack, you're going to find that they beat you to death inside, and you better be in shape. So, but my hat's off to all the sportsmen that's here. All you athletes, good job.
Yeah, we're going to take some pictures right here, right, Sam? Yeah, we're all. While they're doing that, I want to give the plaque to Mr. Frank Dunkel. And Frank said he would have a good place for that in Everett.
Well, we didn't ready for the picture, I'd like another hand for Jake Bailey for the presenting. And hey folks, I'm a history guy. And Eric Zembauer knows the history of this sport, and that fires me up. So, congratulations to all you guys for the Hobby Auto Racing Association. While we're taking the picture, we're going to just say sayonara. Thank you for coming. God bless all of you. Have a safe trip home. And we hope to see some of you again at the Bedford County Sports Hall of Fame again next year. Thank you very much. And good evening.
Video.